Hey, what's up? So, chilling out at the Venetian. There's a huge guarantee today. It's a $250K guarantee for a $250 buy-in. They've had like 5 flights, and this is the last flight. We bag in about 2 hours, 1 hour. And there was kind of an interesting hand that went down. I felt like a vlog about. So there's this old cowboy. He'd been playing super tight, super nitty. He'd never turned anything over that wasn't 10s or better. He would make it like 5 or 6x and then like turn over like aces or ace king. Then he limped once and looked down a queen 3 offsuit, and I'm like, oh, I mean, you can't get away with that. Made the raise. He, tank folds. So he's able to build his stack up after winning a couple of flips. He's got about 60,000 in front of him, and he looks down at pocket queens, makes it 5,100 at the 800, 1,600 level. It's like, okay. Folds around to the big blind, who makes the call. She's a little cagey. She's got ace king offsuit, right? So she makes the call with ace king. The flop comes out ace 9-3. She checks, and he just piles. 55,000, 5x pot, and she snap calls. He turns over the queens and then starts, talking about how unlucky he is and how what a bad beat. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. Oh, and ace always comes. He's out in the parking lot talking to himself right now, and I started thinking about it, and I feel like this is such a common mistake that you see. He actually made 2 mistakes here, 2 pretty big mistakes. The first one, I'm going to say, is not knowing whether you're bluffing or value betting, right? So he's got the pocket queens. The flop comes ace 9-3 rainbow. She checks to him, and he just shoves all in. And I guess what I would ask a player in his situation is, what exactly is the motive here? Are you hoping to get called with worse, or are you hoping to push off better? And if you don't know the answer to that, you're probably better off just checking back. Like if you can't say, well, I think I'm trying to get an ace 10 to fold here, or I think I'm trying to get pocket jacks to call here. If you can't really define what the action is, it's a pretty big mistake. Either way, like 5x pot is pretty big overbet. You really should only be making those kind of huge overbets if for some reason you think that your opponent is going to call with worse. I would just suggest that if you're bluffing in that situation, you're going to be better off sizing your bluff closer to the pot, half pot, 2/3 pot, a third pot, 2x pot, but 5x pot is no. You're risking too much, and you're going to be able to accomplish the same thing with a much smaller bet. The only reason I could see of making it 5.5 times the pot on an ace 9-3 rainbow, very dry board, is if you expect to get called with worse, something like pocket threes. Even then, you're probably better off just trying to make your value bets in a way that plan for later streets of value. And this brings me to, I think, his second big mistake is not having a plan. So often you see players not really have a plan for what they're going to do post-flop or on the turn or on the river. They'll make a call on the flop, with 3 outs, and then they'll actually hit the 3-outer and completely tank because they don't know what to do now. A lot of times you'll hear poker being compared to chess, and I think this is why you hear that comparison so much. Is in chess you have to think moves ahead. In poker it's the same way. You should be thinking moves ahead. When you make a raise pre-flop, you should start going through all the decision trees, all the possibilities that can happen. Think about what you're going to do if, the cutoff 3-bets you, or the small blind flats and the big blind shoves. Think about all the possibilities that can happen just on that street, and then start thinking about board textures on the flop and what you plan on doing if it's checked to you, or if it's donk led into you, or if it's, if you flop your set, you flop your top pair, top kicker, whatever it might be. You have to have a plan post-flop, because you don't want to be in a situation where you're surprised. Oh my gosh, I didn't consider this flop. Now what do I do? I didn't consider this line. What do I do now? You always really need to be thinking moves ahead, steps ahead, streets ahead, and have a plan. You know, if this guy had a plan pre-flop, then I don't think he would have lost it. You know, if his plan is, I'm going to go ahead and c-bet as long as an ace or king doesn't come. And if an ace or king does come, I'm going to go ahead and check back. He's still in the tournament. You know, she was getting a little slow, you know, playing slow, making the check. He checks back. She probably gets 2 streets of value from him, maybe just 1. You know, maybe she checks on the turn as well, and he checks back, and the river comes. She finally gets a little value bet out. He decides, I'll look her up just in case she has nothing, or, you know, making a weird value bet with queen 9 or king 9 or 10-9 or whatever it might be. You know, the point is, if he had a plan pre-flop, he probably doesn't fuck up post-flop with that huge overbet bluff. I don't think it was a bluff. I think it was hope you don't have an ace. All right, just claiming the pot, dodging those weird 2-outers there. Nicely played, sir. Okay, guys, I'm gonna go in and try to bag chips. Hopefully, we'll be making it through to tomorrow. Thanks for watching.